Many times in previous videos, you may have heard me saying that the awareness of an experience is free of the experience, is independent of the experience. The awareness of the experience is free from the experience. It is independent of the experience. It is ultimately not affected by experience. And that experience includes the experience of the body, the experience of the mind, the experience of the intellect, the experience of the ego, and the experience of the world. Fundamental experience or raw experience is just raw sense perceptions, images, feelings, and thoughts. But then there's a narrative around it, the narrative, the story, your personal story, which gives you your ego identity. But all these appear on the screen of consciousness as sense perceptions, sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, including the narrative, including the ego identity. They all appear. Just like you're looking at the screen now on the computer. And so this is the program, but they're all, this program is appearing on the screen, and it is the screen, electronics or whatever, that's modifying itself of the program. Those electronics and the screen are independent of the program. This leads to a startling conclusion. The awareness of anger is not angry. The awareness of jealousy is not jealous. The awareness of fear is not fearful. The awareness of the fear of death is not fearful of death. And this is ultimate freedom. So where do these teachings come from? These teachings are found in Vedanta and Advaita Vedanta, Zen Buddhism, and Dzogchen. And they all emphasize the fundamental unity of awareness and the ultimate insubstantiality of the changing provisional ego identity. So this core insight leads us to the conclusion that fundamental reality is pure awareness, which cognizes thoughts, sensations, and experience, and is inherently untouched and independent of those experiences. For example, when anger arises, there's an awareness of the anger, the raw feeling of the emotion, the associated thoughts, and the physiological reactions in the body. But that awareness itself is not inherently angry. The anger is experienced within awareness, but awareness itself remains pure, open, and unaffected, like a mirror reflecting whatever appears without itself being changed. The mirror is not changed. What appears in the mirror is a reflection of all that is, but the mirror is independent. Another analogy would be the appearance of the moon on a still lake. So the appearance of the moon, the image of the moon on the still lake, of course, is illusion in this analogy, but the lake is independent of the transient illusion because that image arises, is there, and subsides. So use any analogy you want, the electronic analogy, the mirror analogy, the reflection of the moon on the lake, many others, the waves of the ocean. The ocean itself is independent of the ocean. So similarly, when physical pain occurs, awareness organizes the raw sensation of pain, but the awareness is not itself in pain or damaged by the pain. It's untarnished. The pain arises and is known by awareness, but awareness itself is still whole, at peace and free from suffering. The implication is that our innermost essence, our true nature, is this pure awareness, which I have mentioned many times, is irreducible, fundamental, infinite, timeless, and incomprehensible, but it has these properties: self regulation, self evolution, infinite creativity, and all of that, infinite correlation, synchronicity. So, this pure awareness is independent of and transcendent to the particular experience arising in the mind and the body. The body is just a word for an intermittent experience of raw sensations. You're not aware of the body all the time, only when you put attention to it, or you're aware of it, or when it's uncomfortable. And at night, of course, the experience of the body disappears altogether, both in the dream state, which is the REM state, but also in the deep sleep state. So, what does this mean? This means we are not ultimately the limited, provisional, transient self that is angry, in pain, elated, depressed, etc. Rather, we are the aware presence in which these experiences occur, but which remains fundamentally untouched. So, here are some key practical applications: disidentification from thoughts, emotions, by realizing we are the awareness of thoughts, emotions, and not the thoughts, emotions themselves. We can create space and stop over identifying with them. This allows for greater inner peace and equanimity. Of course, this leads to reduced suffering. Physical and emotional pain still occur, but by resting as awareness, there's less suffering because we know we are not ultimately that transient self that is experiencing this sensation. Even the transient ego self is a constricted identity that we feel as constricted sensations in our body. So, this allows us to have a larger perspective and what we call spaciousness, emptiness, fundamental realities experience. There's liberation from the ego. Recognizing pure awareness reveals that we are not the limited body mind construct with its self image, roles, and narratives. As I like to say, our society confuses our self with its selfie. So, this helps us free us from the egoic grasping, defensiveness, and self centeredness and recoiling that we have from experience. It also leads to natural compassion. Awareness has no other because me and the other is all entangled in the same awareness. By dwelling on as the unity of awareness, our inherent oneness with all beings becomes apparent, making compassion and unconditional love a natural expression. This leads to groundedness in being. Abiding as awareness provides an unshakable groundedness in our true nature, even amidst the chaos and uncertainty of life. A deep existential peace and wholeness is found. So, the non dual approach involves a shift from having experience to being the awareness in which experiences arise, are known, and subside, just like the breath, just like any other sensation in the body. Thoughts, feelings, they all arise and subside. The awareness remains. Only the awareness is the non changing factor in every experience. While the relative reality of thoughts, feelings, and perception continues, we disidentify from them and know ourselves to be the transcendent aware presence. This is a radically liberating insight that uproots suffering at its core. By stabilizing this recognition and integrating it into a daily life is a subtle art that requires devoted practice and contemplation. So, one of my practices, every now and then, I stop and ask myself, am I at peace? And if not, why? Am I aware? If not, why? Am I present? If not, why? And just asking that question brings me to that domain of awareness which is independent of everything, every experience: birth, death, pain, pleasure, hot, cold. That's a true yogi. established in being, perform action. Yogastha Kuru Karmani. Let me know if you found this useful.